presentation. There you go. Today, our workshop will be a presentation on the all hands on deck update, followed by the Metro Square tour. We'll try to keep the presentation up until 3 p.m. and then after that will be the tour. And folks will be asked to take their belongings with them so you don't leave this room. Leave your belongings in this room. Again, there are no votes that will be taken during this workshop. So with that said, let's start with introduction of the folks at this table and then into the group here, name and your role. So I can start. Ramsey County Commissioner Mike Chong. I am chairing this workshop. I represent District 6.
Hi, I'm Rosalind, Director of Communications and Public Relations.
Hi, my name is Jason Dean, Deputy Director of Financial Assistance Services.
Karen Francois, Deputy County Manager for the Information and Public Records Service Team.
Ali, Director of Financial Assistance Services.
Melinda Donnelly, Deputy Director of Service Centers for FAS.
Jeannie Kruger, Director of Property Management.
Jane Becker, County Manager.
Kelly Miller, County Commissioner, representing District 7. On the left here, in the front row.
This is Scott at FAS.
Malvay, Operations Manager for the Service Center.
Wame Bain, Manager for Navigator Services for the Simpson.
Kathleen Murphy, Assistant to Commissioner Miller.
Yvonne Stewart, Deputy Director of Communications and Public
Rachel Monarch, Planning Manager for FAS.
Jamie Levine, Executive Assistant for Health and Wellness Service Team.
Nadir Abdi, Deputy County Manager, Health and Wellness Services.
Bruce Robin, staff.
Russell Stewart, Director of Policy Division Strategy.
Veronica Jackson, Race and Health Equity Administrator.
Marissa Dillon, Planning Manager.
Jennifer Master, Property Manager.
Cindy Robbins, End User Support IS.
Ellie Hay, Commissioner Shaw, District 6.
Alexis Garner, Employee to Commissioner Dennis. District 1.
And Julia McCarthy, Keystone Community Services.
Kim Revere, Property Management. Tara Burgess, Property Management.
Ray Oliver, Property Management.
Scott Marshall, Resident Experience Manager.
Sarah Hyatt, Manager of Evaluation Research.
Sarah Autumn, Program Evaluator.
Christy Potts, Planning Manager.
Greg Stolchen, Public Works County Engineer.
Matt Chapman, Reynolds County Assessor. Corey Erickson, County Assessor. Jacob Devonta, Teacher Information Officer.
Juan Long, Director of Community Crime.
Deputy Joe, Vice Manager, Senior Health.
Jason Mule, Director of Workforce Solutions. Christine Weber, Workplace Investigations Team Compliance Manager.
Andrew Green, Deputy Chief of Staff.
Katie Molinaire, Social Services Deputy Director, Aging and Disability Services, and Choices.
Henry Walker, Social Services Deputy Director.
Larry Gaines, here from the Fiscal Director from the Wild County.
And Jason Gage, Clerk, I can raise my
Hi, Mandy Ray, IS.
Okay, perfect. Well, we've got a big group here. Thank you all for coming. I know that some of the commissioners are making their way here. And they are there, so they're coming in. So thank you everyone for coming down to Metro Square. I really love this conference space. This is my first time here, so kudos to all the team who made this room look really nice. We'll be hearing from about the progress that's being made in a variety of areas to improve our services and support student residents. And we will also be celebrating the work that has been accomplished through our All Hands on Deck initiative to reduce the backlog of cases and financial assistance, learning about the ongoing transformation of this building, and then touring our recently renovated downtown service center. I would have, before I hand it off to Deputy County Manager Karen Francois to kick us off, I'd just like to have our commissioners just introduce themselves, just for the record and for the folks who.
The commissioners who took the scenic way, the walking way, the scenic way through the skyline. That was not at all marked, and we loved it. 22 little. Mary Jo Boy, Commissioner District 2. We loved it. 20 did. Yeah. Sorry, don't sign me.
Garrison McMurtry, Commissioner District 3.
Sorry, I was saying District 1.
Actually, you might have left it quarter two, I'm sorry. Quarter two.
Ortega is soon.
Well, and thank you, commissioners, we have lots of folks, I also heard, the community partner that's in the audience, and, staff and team from across the agencies, that are present here today. So I'll hand it off to you.
Thank you and good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, County Manager Becker, staff, and our community members. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here this afternoon to share this vital information with you. This afternoon session, Madam Chair, as you said, will highlight progress achieved through the All Hands on Deck initiative, recognize the incredible staff behind that work, and provide a preview of the transformation taking place here at Metro Square. We will begin with a summary of outcomes from All Hands on Deck for public assistance services, and we'll take a few minutes to recognize the staff whose dedication made the results possible. Next, we will have Director Jean Kruger walk us through the transformation at Metro Square and share the vision for the facility's future as a welcoming and accessible hub for both staff and residents. Director Rose Lindsay will then provide a brief overview of the naming framework strategy, which ensures our facilities and spaces reflect a consistent, resident-focused identity. We'll conclude with a tour of the service center spaces to see these improvements firsthand. We're so excited about that. And that will be followed by time for questions and discussion. Again, thank you for your time, your engagement, and continued support. The All Hands on Deck initiative was launched in December of 2024 to take on one of our toughest challenges, and that is the persistent backlogs in financial assistance programs. Nearly 1 in 3 Ramsey County residents relies on medical assistance, and more than 1 in 10 relies on SNAP. So delays meant real hardship for thousands of households. AHOD gave us a new way of working in 90-day sprints, cross-country county teams, or cross-country. It was a sprint. And a resident-first focus so we could move quickly, innovate, and make measurable improvements. This work has already reduced backlogs, improved timelines, and modernized the way residents experience our service centers and soon our phone systems. Today's presentation will highlight those accomplishments and the people behind them, and it will also set the stage for what's next. And with that, I will turn it over to Director Ali to begin with the AHOD update.
Thank you, Manager. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners, County Manager, colleagues. Thank you for joining us today, this afternoon, for an update on All Hands on Deck initiative, and also thank you for taking the time to visit our transformed Metro Square Service Center. When we launched All Hands on Deck, our goal was clear: to ensure that every resident who applied for essential public assistance, food, healthcare, cash support, received timely access to benefits. We were responding to a growing backlog that threatened to delay vital support for thousands of Ramsey County residents. One of the most important outcomes was timeliness. Backlogs that once left residents waiting weeks have been reduced. Today, applications are assigned within 1 week. This stability is a major win for both residents and staff. Automation has been a game changer, converting resident emails and attachments directly into case files, saving money staff hours every week. We have also enhanced communications inside our service centers with digital displays, text alerts, and clear wayfinding signage to reduce confusion and stress. We also implemented voicemail transcript service, which helps staff triage and prioritize messages so urgent needs don't get lost. At our service centers, residents now benefit from real-time wait times, posted online and on-site, along with the new scanning stations to submit documents. This gives residents more transparency and faster services. These quick wins also build the foundation for larger innovations ahead. We are preparing to modernize our call center and expand the virtual agent, streamlining how residents get updates and support. We are also partnering with IS and Minnesota CCC on Data Depot, a shared cross-county reporting hub. This will replace fragmented spreadsheets with real-time, transparent data for both staff and residents. Taken together, these outcomes show how all hands on deck not only reduce the backlogs, but also transform how we deliver services, making them faster, more transparent, and more resident-centric. With that, Deputy Director Jason Hadir will lead us through a summary of all hands on deck outcomes next.
So this matrix that you see on the screen demonstrates how AHOD delivered results across 4 key areas: faster service, better experience, stronger efficiency, and deeper partnerships. It shows which initiatives were completed, operationalized, and are still works in progress. As we've shared, backlogs have been reduced and timeliness improved. We've also implemented process innovations like automation and service center upgrades to save staff time and create clearer and more welcoming experience. Partnerships furthered with community, making benefits easier to access and more equitable for residents. The financial assistance services and enterprise services integration and staff training ensure these gains are sustainable for building a consistent resident-first service standard across FAS. These outcomes show that AHOD created lasting improvements for both residents and staff, setting the stage for the next phase of service transformation. Our results reflect a county-wide effort, staff, supervisors, managers, all working toward the same goal. The next slide shows one of those collaborative solutions in action. And I know you've all heard about Operation Return Call on a couple of different occasions, so I'll go over some of the results that we pulled from from the pilot. So,
May I just get a question?
oh yeah, sure.
Can we go back to the previous slide?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I just have a couple of questions. One of them is, do we actually have like a physical call center, or is that just how we're calling people who receive calls? I'm just curious.
We do. We have more than one. I don't know, Melinda, if you want to talk about her.
We do have a call center, the 8500 line that appears underneath when the board meeting is on is the call center that right now navigators answer for all different types of questions that come in through the county. And there's not a physical space for people to come in and sit down and answer calls. Those are the times when navigators work remotely to answer those calls, and also language-specific navigators work to help residents who need translation. On the 444 side, there are a lot of the questions that come in for FAS specific around benefits and benefit programs. That's what we're talking about when we say there's phone consolidation down the line. That's in the same way a call center operator where staff answer calls and on the team. I don't know if they physically come in from there, but they're answering in a call center function with the system capabilities.
Yeah, so it's not what you're imagining, that there's a bank of people physically sitting next to each other chatting, but
it functions in that same way. So
Yeah.
Because everyone has a similar access level, and everyone who has that access level, they can sit anywhere and then they can take phone calls. And there is a supervision that takes place for the monitoring, how many lines we have, who is online, and yes, so that's how it functions.
Great. And then the other question I had is, I know from just hearing feedback from staff at different levels, leadership, and then also users and residents who are accessing the idea of the people development, the professional development of customer service and leadership training, and just making sure that we're working cohesively, especially with this many new staff coming on board, to make sure that that investment is going on. I see that's a work in progress. What does that work in progress look like?
Yeah, I can speak to that. I was wondering how much to say about that, but I appreciate the question, Commissioner. That particular one is thinking about customer service. We're partnering with St. Paul College on putting together a customer service training. They're adapting it they asked for our specific job description so that they can adapt their existing training specifically to some of our staff. And so we're working to get that. We have our first, it's in November would be our first cohort that will go through that.
And then similar things for the leadership and.
Yes, those are scheduled. Those are on our leaders' calendars already. So those are scheduled already to go forward.
And the reason why I ask that is because in almost every kind of operation, so it's not unique to this particular department, or even to Ramsey County. Sometimes the people who are really good at their jobs then are the ones who are asked to then become leaders, and there are different skill sets to manage and supervise folks, and sometimes there needs to be some professional development and supervision and coaching along the way, and I think that that's been one of our pinch points along the way with all sorts of transitions. So I want to keep hearing updates on that and how it's working and how we're supporting our staff.
Great, thank you.
I have a question on a follow-up with the St. Paul College training partnership. Is that, I'm assuming that's for current staff that we have, but is that also to recruit new staff as well, that the college will be offering, and that could be a way into a career pathway?
We haven't gone down that pathway, but I appreciate that question and that suggestion. I think that's something we can definitely follow up on. Initially, we're training we're managing the number of slots that we have for the first several cohorts, and balancing that across staff who have been here for many years and for new staff, because we want to provide opportunities for both new staff and existing more experienced staff. So,
Thank you for that. Any other questions?
all right, go on to the next slide, Andy. All right. So our Operation Return Call was a 90-day pilot that was designed to free up our eligibility specialists' time by shifting some of the routine status checks and voicemails really to our some trained temporary staff that we hired through a temp agency. And that would allow our eligibility specialists to focus on determining eligibility and benefits for residents' programs that they've had applied for. And the pilot worked. We had nearly 4,000 calls were returned during the evaluation period. And most of those calls were returned within one business day. So that gave residents reassurance and timely responses to questions that they had. The majority of those calls did not need to go back to eligibility specialists for further follow-up. They were able, our trained temporary staff that we were able to train pretty quickly within a week or two, were able to answer the majority of the questions around status checks on cases. That meant, that staff could spend more time processing. Our Operation Return Call team also supported our call center. So when we talk about call centers, we have our 4444, which is our FAS call center there that people call. So they also helped support at different times. During higher volume times, they were able to, we were able to shift those staff to answer live calls as well. And then you can see from the data there that they also responded to 5,700 live calls, and that 99.6% answer rate, meaning that they were able to get to 99% of those calls, really reduce those wait times during those higher volume periods.
Mr. Dennison and Mr. Dwyer.
I know one of the issues that we had experienced before all of this went into effect was the abandoned calls, people calling and then their families calling, and so there's lots of people calling all the time. Have we reduced our abandoned call rate?
Yeah, and on our public dashboard, you can see over the last few months that abandon rate has decreased.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for all this work, and gosh, what great results. I love it. Can you remind me, and maybe it was on a previous slide, but I can't go back. How many, I mean, we knew there was a problem with this because we all heard it and felt it. And then you added more people, that's what increased the fund? Do we have, like, how many more people did we add to help with this call rate? Like, did I hear 90 at one point, but I don't know how many people I got.
In this specific effort, we hired 10 temporary staff. Yeah. The other piece that you're referring to, we've hired over 100 staff since last year.
Okay.
Since November of last year, onward 100 folks.
Wow, so really the need was there, and you can tell what the good results are by bringing in. Thank you.
County Manager Becker.
Yeah, I just wanted to, thank everyone for working on this pilot. I think what I was hoping that leadership could try out is we were struggling with having enough eligibility specialists, and they need specialized training, and we had to be on the state's cycle of training. And I kept asking, Ali and his team, like, are there things that they're doing that you don't have to have the special training to do? And so I think this shows that we wanted the eligibility specialists to focus the majority of their time, if not all their time, on things that only they can do, and figure out what other things were more ancillary that we could backfill with. Even just 10 people could all of a sudden now free up their day or their time to focus on other things versus answering the phone call. So I just want to thank you for everyone. I know some parts of this all have been better to try some things worked great, other things you literally were like, nah, it's not, but I think this was a good sort of get us out of the box of thinking like, oh, well, this is a person, this is what they do. Well, you can actually rethink sort of the resourcing, and hopefully we can learn from that, for future things. So I really appreciated the leaning into it, the quickness that you were able to find the 10 people. I know there was a little bit of a rush with the 90 days, obviously, but then also like just being able to articulate the results, so I think, so that's excellent. Thank you.
Mr. Miller.
This is fabulous. Thank you for all this work. Because we talked pilot and how you talked about it is like, this is what we did. So are we no longer doing these efforts, and has our backlog, I'm sure you guys have told me, I'm so sorry if I'm as not prepared as I should be. Has our backlog now been taken care of, and are we maintaining the pace that applications and everything that are coming through, so we're not getting to where we were before this?
Good question, Commissioner. I can try, so first I would say we had these staff for 90 plus days, 90 or so days. And that was like County Manager Becker mentioned, to also support while we onboarded a lot of new people to fill these positions that we had vacant. And so we've made significant progress. If you look back at our backlog, you can see that progress that has been made over time. We know during summer months, we also have what we get historically, this is the case for Ramsey County, but most other counties in the state as well, have higher volume of applications during the summer, and that accounts for many reasons. But so yes, we've addressed that. We are now able to keep up with most of the applications that are coming in. I think it was on the previous slide for about around 8 days or so out on our processing as far as like applications being assigned to staff.
And then just one quick follow-up, is this model right here now how we do business? So with the responsive of returning calls within so many days, right? Like are these practices that we had for the all hands on deck models now part of just the way we do business?
Commissioner, that is a good question. So where we have not established another group of like 10 folks specifically for this, but we do have return call expectations as part of our operations in our our system, so if someone gets a call, we have an expectation of a return call within 3 days.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was asking,
Oh.
not necessarily about the 10 staff, but more
got
about, is if this work that we implemented is now how we are going to be doing business going forward. Okay.
Okay, so that's, thank you, just to clarify, so then we added the 10 people, are they staying there to keep this status, to keep this happening? No, they're going somewhere else, but that would just help with the backlog. Now, hopefully, the current people there will be able to sustain the volume of calls, it was just such a big backlog before, that those 10 people, now they're doing other things, and we've got the same number of people that will hopefully, as I appreciate Commissioner Miller's question, that will be able to sustain this type of response.
Yes, Commissioner, and where the benefit really comes in is the more experience these 100 folks that we've hired in the last year, the more experience they have, the faster they'll be able to get through our work and the more benefit we see. So we continue to hire on a regular basis so that we make sure that we're backfilling any vacancies that we have. But yeah, the idea there is as those 100 folks get more and more training, they'll be able to take on more responsibility, and be able to get back to residents more quickly based on their program knowledge and based on their experience.
Commissioner Jennings.
Just a quick follow-up on, as we're hiring folks, I've heard referenced a couple of different times over the last few months as we've heard reports on this, that we're kind of locked into a particular training schedule at the state. Is that the only way that we can train people, or can we request this training outside of that cycle? Is that really the,
Do you want to answer that?
Thank you, Commissioner, that's a very good question. I will make a comment on the operation of the town hall and then answer the question. The operation of the town hall was a time we needed, capacity injection during, very high, value of backlog that we had, and it indeed helped us, and we've also learned many things that we could replicate going forward in the future, how we want to start our call center. So that has been very good timing. We learned a lot as we continue to hire. We wanted to make sure that our call center gets enough staff to respond to the phone calls that are coming to us, and also the expectation, as the deputy director mentioned, is part of our expectation to return us to the phone calls. In terms of the training, the question, that's a very great question. We have been in conversation with the DCYF to allow counties to have their own trainer. There is a progress going on right now. We are going to be the next county that will be able to have our in-house trainer and certified trainer program. That's what it's called. We submitted our plan to the state. We are waiting for response, but that's what we are looking for. At the time being, that's what we are doing. We have to have the state approval. Training is not for us, and then we have to plan accordingly with the availabilities, and that's only that we can have. But with this, certified trainer, then we will be, hiring based on our, capacity.
I just appreciate that. I'm guessing that one of the things that this all hand on deck is allow you actually to have the time and space to ask yourself the question, if that's a bottleneck to getting people online and to their highest point of being able to be of service, that you have the breathing space to say, well, then how can we change the process that's holding us back, and that you're pursuing something, so.
I can wrap up real quick on this one. You can also see we did some surveying of both our temporary staff and existing staff in terms of how it went, how the pilot went for them. Our eligibility specialists reported benefits, with 2/3 saying they spent less time returning phone calls, and more than half said they had more time for casework and caseload management each week. Residents felt heard and supported. The Operation Return Call staff were praised for their empathy, professionalism, and clear communication. Many residents expressed gratitude for simply receiving a call back, and more importantly, the ORC staff themselves reported feeling prepared, supported, and proud of the difference they were making. Many expressed interest in staying on permanently, and of which we hired a few people from that group, so we're really happy that they were pleased with their experience here at Ramsey County. Overall, the pilot proved that when we use targeted short-term staffing strategically, we can both improve resident service and reduce our pressure on our core workforce. I'd now like to turn it over to Deputy Director Melinda Dunaway to further discuss a pilot that took place in service centers.
Before we move to that, just going back to the AHOD operation return call, are those the, similar along to the questions that was raised before, but are these going to be metrics that we'll be using to monitor and track our work going forward? Or what is success going to look like for us moving forward?
Good, thank you for the question, Commissioner. I think we have our expectation of staffing for return calls. And so also through general surveys that we do of residents and about their experience through many different methods, we will be using that in terms of evaluation. Was that your question? I'm not sure if I totally answered it.
I can try to take that one on too.
Yeah.
I think the goal of this is a little bit, or what happened here and how it ends up like feeding into our future metrics is, well, it starts a little higher. This was a big stretch of a muscle to think about doing something differently when we have a problem. And I think there are some real benefits that were realized in terms of like the things you see on the slide. Also, you heard Dr. Ali talk about they learned some efficiencies and things around how to maybe set up their call center differently. I think the real metric for this is that it should, over time, we should be able to maintain having better response rates, because anytime we hit up against something, even if it's not this solution, the team should feel like, oh, we should sit in a room and think about how we could short-term, like we don't have to have a permanent solution to start to just to move a needle and try something. So I think there's like two things happening at once, but I think our metric hasn't really changed from the original, which is really around how responsive we are to our the people that are waiting and the cases that are pending. If that makes sense. I don't know how you feel like that. Sees it, but
that's it.
Yeah, and I think the other stretch is you don't necessarily as FAS have to solve that short or mid or long term problem by yourself. Like to really say, oh, we are stuck, we are under some barrage of whatever challenge is coming. How could we think differently as a team? But then how do we actually go to the county and say, oh, I'm gonna call the IS department, I'm gonna call human resources, I'm gonna call procurement, and I'm gonna say we need to all, like this is one of the most important things that we do as a county because it's the most basic need. And how do we think differently about our problem fast? Instead of lingering for a year with like, oh, this is our problem and we have to try to solve it with the funding that we just have and the people we have and the resourcing that we have. Does that help at all? So I think the metrics haven't really changed. I think we still have the same North Star of wanting to keep those rates low.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's helpful, and I'm glad that we are having this like open conversation about how we continue to work forward. I guess my point too is like, at which point are we going to say, oh shoot, this isn't working anymore? We need to get together then.
I would like to just say, Madam Chair, I think it's a matter of continuous improvement. And we certainly, that's one of the things that we are building a muscle in, and that we have learned from this sort of all hands on deck effort. And that is that we have to be consistently in a state of improvement and monitoring how the work is operating. As County Manager Becker said, we learned that some things didn't work. We learned that many of the things that we implemented did. So we will be constantly monitoring to make sure that that things are working.
And I think this goal around, or the expectation to return calls within 3 days moving forward, that's a great goal. And that's very responsive, just balancing the need for staff to be able to do their work, but also to say to our residents that this is what you can expect of us. I think that's like transparent and that's like accountability for all of us. So is that on the dashboard too then, right now?
I'll return you calls.
I think we'll have to get back to you.
Okay. Yeah, just like those dashboard, I think that's great. That gives us a good pulse of like, how are things going too. So-
And it's
So
not there
that's
right
great.
now, but it's something that we will be reporting on.
Okay. Oh, yep.
Oh, yeah, and just a question, on that last, set of bullet points, the 100% of ORC staff, was that the 10, temp staff? Not the, so then with this kind of, nimble and innovative and iterative change management, right? There's change fatigue and like the ability for folks who are already over pushed because that was the issue that they were in, the greater staff. Is there a way that we're monitoring their ability to kind of roll with the punches of trying new things and then pivoting and rolling and seeing what that feels like and making sure that we're kind of keeping tabs on their experience as well?
I think as we, focus on professional development and staff development, that these are the kinds of things that we'll be monitoring to make sure that, when staff reach that point, that there are opportunities for us to intervene and to ensure that they're able to continue to function fully, so that we can continue making these kinds of improvements.
Sometimes like when you've been told just paddle faster, and then somebody says, well, we're gonna teach you a new way to paddle, and like I can't learn a new way while I'm paddling as fast as you're asking me to paddle, and so it's managing that too, right? Holding that space too.
I'm sure I really appreciate you bringing that up. It's very important, and it is definitely something that we focus on.
One example of that I can just share briefly, like we have through the customer service training that we're rolling out, we want staff to take the time to right? It's like, how can I take a training when I'm so busy and have so many things to do? And we were just talking yesterday, where I was talking with our managers about just making sure that we're allowing that time so that they have that permission to step away to learn new things, learn new techniques, learn new strategies. And so that's another way we can support our staff in making sure that they can pivot to do those things. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, I'll move us along here. I know that you have more
15
slides.
minutes.
Yes.
Okay, so I will breeze through these next couple slides. I get to talk about the pilot that didn't work so well over the summer. So we don't have to spend that much time on this. But we did pilot some language translation devices this summer. We were very excited. We worked together. We had the evaluation plan, got the devices, worked with procurement and contracting, and got all the approvals. And unfortunately, Spanish worked really well. But the languages that are most high demand, Somali, one of our high demand languages, and also Korean and Hmong, just didn't translate well in terms of the actual language translations. And we learned that in the marketplace itself, they're not there yet. So we're working with IES right now, pivoting to find other solutions. But we learned we have a setup template, so to speak, and the planning in place to be able to implement the next great solution that comes to mind. But staff found the device is easy to use, but it didn't meet the need at the end of the day. We're working with residents, so that is the pilot that didn't work so great, but we're ready for the next one.
Just gonna ask, because Apple came out with, that new translator phone, and I'm just curious, it seems like that would be an easy, not as expensive as a whole system, just Apple translators, but you give them a phone that translates. I just don't know if it would, I have no idea.
That's what this is. It felt very Google-like, very Apple-like to get a new device, but all of the smart techie friends in IS and everywhere else are finding that in the marketplace in general, language translations don't have written languages. There's a lot of work to be done, and also with our partners in the state, there's work to be done in there too. So it's not, it's not.
Yeah. Just quickly, so are we no longer using this service even for the Spanish?
No, we have language specific. We use language line in the state. We've already used, we have a tool that we use for language line for the state, but we also have language specific navigators and are able to move it in person.
Thank you for that.
All right, so this is a lot going on in this slide, and I'll go fast because you'll get to see a lot of this when you go upstairs. And you've heard about the wait times being established online, so I won't go through that, but we're very proud of that. When you check into the service centers at Maplewood and in downtown, you can use these kiosks to check in, and it holds your place in line. And you get a printed mobile ticket. That's the gray box up there. It says ticket number. So this is a way to have efficient and consistent check-in processes across the different sites and across the different service centers. You also, if you have a phone, you're able to get a text message that says you are checked in and this is your number in line, and then you're queued to the counter by text message, also audibly. So when you go upstairs, you'll hear no in a very soft, melodic tone, no serving, and it cues you to where you should go. If you miss a queue, which you could easily, staff are calling the names and the numbers out loud too. So we're proud of these advancements, and it took a lot of partnerships across multiple departments and procurement, and with our No Waited Sites partnership with the kiosks to make this happen. And then very excited to have what you see the phone displays here, a text message survey. So every resident that leaves the service center gets a text message that says basically, how do we do here? And simple yellow star ratings. So asking you to rate your service, so to speak. Are you satisfied with the service you received? Did you get the help you needed? And was the wait time reasonable? So we're trying this out as a quality assurance day-to-day way to measure our overall performance, in addition to the point in time surveys that we do on a regular basis with residents as well.
Mr. McMurtry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So is this also translated into different languages, the kiosk?
The kiosk, that is a great question. The kiosk is, we have a greeter helping people check in, so you always get help to check in, and we do find that we help people check in if they don't speak the language, and then that initiates our response for language specific services.
But like when they check in and get the text message, it won't be in the language that they.
I need to double check that. I don't believe so.
Okay.
But these would be easy to translate.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this something that we would consider translating if we don't currently? So,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's static, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. And then my other question is, as we look at the work that you all have been doing and all the things to add to the efficiency of this particular area, have you looked at some of our other metro counties, maybe some of their best practices, things that they have been doing that have seemed to be working, that we have decided to implement or thinking of implementing on our end?
Yes, in my case, in going through the slide, the talking point I forgot to say is that we did look at peer counties to kind of inform these sort of advancements and technology enhancements too. So we have gone through Hennepin, also Anoka. I personally visited Washington recently just to kind of see how things are going. So along the way over the last 6 months, these have been informed by what our peers are doing.
Great.
All right, and so I'm gonna go through this fast again too, because these are a lot of what we've been talking about, but since November 2024, we've hired over 100 new eligibility specialists, as you know. So this investment in staff capacity has driven measurable results and reduced stress on our teams and improved timeliness. As discussed, the backlog has been reduced and application assignment timelines have improved dramatically. Service center wait times have been reduced significantly. Today, residents wait an average of under 20 minutes downtown and under 10 minutes at Maplewood and Roseville. We've also added new tools, as you've just seen, and we get to see when we go upstairs. So residents know where they stand in line and they feel informed when they wait. And you'll see scanning stations, digital displays to talk about the new tools that are there, and improved signage. All have made the service centers more accessible and less confusing, with links to local resources, so residents feel confident that their application is in process and their service is happening when they come into the service center. We've also expanded partnerships, including SNAP grantees, Ramsey United, and the Crushing Partner Work Group, ensuring residents benefit from broader community support. And finally, AHOD has laid the groundwork for modernizing how we use data with Power BI dashboards, automation, and the cross-county data depot to ensure transparent, real-time information for staff, leaders, and residents. And with this, I'd like to turn it over to DC and Francois to talk about what is next.
Thank you. So the first AHOD sprint stabilized operations and reduced backlogs. This next phase, which we're calling all hands on deck, access and accuracy, builds on that foundation to ensure that benefits are delivered correctly, consistently, and equitably while embedding improvements into everyday operations. The goal is simple but critical, and that is delivering the right benefit at the right time, every time. With phase one that started in October, we will build momentum with rapid response teams, practical tools like checklists and resident guides, and pilot programs to test new approaches. In January, phase two will begin with financial assistance services leadership embedding these improvements into everyday operations, ensuring a sustainability beyond the sprint framework. This phase also expands modernization efforts, a new call center model integrating technology to provide more self-service options, expansion of virtual services to give residents more flexible options, customer service training, and leadership integration to strengthen consistency across the organization. Just like the backlog reduction, this is both about systems and people, protecting residents from errors and ensuring our staff have the tools and training to succeed. None of this progress would have been possible without the commitment, resiliency, and collaboration shown by staff across departments. Over the past year, staff stepped into new roles, embraced innovation, and worked side by side to solve challenges that once felt insurmountable. This was not just about process improvements, it was about building trust, restoring confidence, and proving that when we come together, we can deliver better service for our community. This effort was not just about process improvements. It demonstrated how the AHOD framework can bring us together in new ways to tackle problems quickly and efficiently. We sincerely thank you for your extraordinary contributions to all the staff who participated. You have shown what is possible when we unite together around a shared purpose and a resident-first vision. So I would just like to applaud staff for this. And this concludes the overview of our AHOD outcomes. Director Krugel will now very quickly take us through the exciting transformation of Metro Square.
Before we go there, I would just have a question for Commissioner.
Yeah, very quick question on the, I think it was second to last slide. Yes, that one. The enhanced SNAP training is up. Can you kind of share a little bit about what that entails, and is it in response to the proposed changes from the federal government coming in, 2 to 3 years?
Which one?
Thank you, Commissioner Eichen. It is not in response to currently what we're dealing with as of last week, but it is in response to, additional guidance that we're continue to get, the work requirements, all of the changes that are occurring, that occurred as of July, that were passed on July 4th this year.
Is it, remind me, with what passed in that bill, is it SNAP that now would require applicants to reapply every 6 months? Is that SNAP or was it?
That one is healthcare.
Okay.
And that's recertified. So they're not having to completely reapply, but it is an additional step that residents will have to go through to stay in healthcare. But there are a bunch of additional requirements for SNAP as well, that some deductions that no longer qualify as deductions, meaning SNAP benefits go down.
I never wanted to miss the opportunity of the crisis. The idea, if we're right now in the federal shutdown, if there's some questions on SNAP work and processing, and is there any chance to use this like an MEA where we're like, great, everybody's got a week to do training? Is there any way, or I'm just thinking, I don't know exactly, I know there's a lot of different questions that fall into that. It's not so easily lined up that way, but we don't know how long this thing's gonna go on, and is there a way to use this in any way, an opportune way?
I can try to do that. I appreciate that, Commissioner, because we definitely don't want to ever let a emergency go to waste here. But I think we are in the midst of, today is kind of a critical day in the whole federal shutdown. We can kind of just imagine it real time here while we're sitting here. So I think I just need a little time to work on that contingency planning, and there's a lot of complexity and that involves a lot of staff, and so we want to be really thoughtful about what kind of our strategies are. So, but I appreciate that.
Just a quick one, before we go into it, we're gonna be going about first, just on the resident guide, back on that same slide. Just, these are guides, for specific issues, or are we gonna be putting them out at our libraries, or I just saw resident guides, there we are. Phase 1, quality team, enhanced staff training, resident guides.
I would just like to say, Commissioner, great question. These are things that are currently in flight. And we will have certainly more on all of this the next time we come to talk about access and accuracy and the outcomes of that.
Okay, thanks.
Very good.
Thank you.
Director Kruger.
Thank you, Commissioner. So after you've heard about the services and the great work there, we're going to talk just a minute or two about the center itself and how we got to what you see here, which is the entry of the service center here at Metro Square. So again, I'm going to start out with that thank you to a lot of people. Some of you who have been around for a few years know that we started talking about a different type of service center pre-COVID. I want to thank staff, residents, and peer organizations that we did talk to along the way, because there has been a lot of research and input that has gone into what you will see completed here today. So just a huge thank you to everyone who has been involved in that work. As you'll see here on the slide, and I'll talk through a bit, we really did focus on that one county. We say one door, but really just that one location where residents can come and receive a host of services. It may not be all, but certainly a number of services in one place. And to do so in an interactive way rather than transactional, to really elevate the relationship that exists between the staff and the resident. That it's built on trust, dignity, and connection with that resident. This renovation in the building here supports the one door for services vision. And again, multiple services in one location. The staff and resident experience, as I said, were key to helping us understand what to do in this new space. We know that design matters, the space design matters, and that it needed to be based on the people who use that space. By improving the environment and the flow through that space, we know we improve the experience for both the resident and the staff. It means more clarity for people as they enter, less stress for everyone, and a stronger sense of welcoming in an accessible environment. We utilize trauma-informed design principles in this space that supports, again, both the needs of the residents and the staff with dignity. It protects privacy and provides for safety with consideration for natural light, acoustics, and a warm, soothing environment. Flexibility was key. There are many different types of spaces, different types of furniture, different locations throughout the center to accommodate a lot of different interactions and needs for residents and staff. I wanted to particularly call out a focus on space for families or children. We all know that that is a good percentage of the people served, and having accommodations with play area and the waiting area, and or meeting rooms that accommodate more than 2 people, maybe even with some things for kids to stay entertained with. So we really did think about that in the design. We also wanted to make sure that, again, the wayfinding, the navigation, you've heard about the check-in kiosks, the digital displays, you'll see those in action when we go up there to really help the resident know where they are and where they can be or can wait. Community and connection, we really focused on having a large and welcoming entry to the space with the public areas, also a number of different types of spaces in that front area, a multi-purpose room, collaboration rooms, the resource room, phone rooms that are in the area accessible by residents. Staff are positioned up front at the counters that you see to meet and greet the residents upon their arrival and welcome them into this space. Then behind the doors you see, you enter into areas where there are various different types of client meeting spaces based again on the individual needs or families to be in a conducive environment. Again, to help reduce the stress for everyone, but to also provide the privacy and respect and a safe environment for everyone. To set the stage for where we go from here, Metro Square is really in a series of transformative steps. I appreciate Commissioner John's comments. Here on the lower level, this was one of the first floors to experience a significant amount of renovation. But literally, we have touched every floor in the building. We're not done. You will notice some things probably on the tour that aren't quite done. There are some areas that are even less done, if you will. But we are headed towards a building that has been very much renovated and transformed. This floor, lower level, again, is this conference center area and auditorium and the employee break-in space. We've included wellness room, prayer room, lactation room on this floor. The first and second floors are really our focus areas for the public facing or the publicly accessible services. So on first floor, we continue to have community corrections. We also have as a tenant Met Council for the Transit Project Office. That's on the corner of Robert. Again, second floor, publicly accessible, the service center that we will go to. It's also where our Workforce Solutions Department as well as the State Career Force are located. Property management happens to be on that floor as well. Third and fourth floor will really be the predominant floors for, I'm going to say, our Financial Assistance Services Department and Social Services on fourth floor, with a little bit of their operations as well on third, in terms of probably health and wellness administration. Those three I just mentioned, we are scheduling to relocate to this building in February of 2026. Currently on third floor and staying on third floor are our Information Services Department and Housing Stability Department. We also do have a couple external tenants on the third floor. Fifth floor right now is not completed. It is under renovation. When it's completed and in December of this year, Human Resources, Finance, and a drop-in center will be on fifth floor. Right now, Human Resources and Finance are temporarily on third floor. So within the next 2 quarters, we will be finishing the renovation of the space in the building and housing the departments, the teams that you see listed here. With
the drop-in center, does that mean like a hoteling service for other employees or employees? Okay.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's always exciting. It'll be fun to see this again since I got to see the previous year or so ago. What do most of our people come by car or transit or foot? How do most people get to this center? And then it goes to my question of signage in the skyways. We didn't see a sign that said Metro Square. So maybe we were just in the wrong skyway. I don't know.
Talking residents, employees, both.
Okay.
Is your question for both?
Yeah.
Everybody?
Yeah. Anybody, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. For residents in our yearly surveys, that's one of the questions that we ask is how did you get here and how accessible was it? And we know, I don't have percentages in my head so I can follow up, but we know the majority of residents do come by car.
And not by transit. So
They do use
yeah,
transit,
they
but
do
the
something,
majority,
but there's
absolutely use transit a lot.
They
And I can follow up. And we do provide free parking, so if you park into the ramp, the block 19 ramp, we do have 2-hour free parking for residents, so it's for anyone if you, and that's available for anyone.
It would be good, obviously, to have a good way to get from transit to here, but maybe that just depends on.
We are accessible by trains.
Yeah. Okay.
If you, I feel like right now we're not accessible.
I know.
With Robert Street all torn up, but.
Yeah.
In the plans, yeah.
So there will be signs in the skyway.
Yeah.
We'll work on it.
We're working on it as part of this.
Yes.
There are, but there could be more. So with that, I'm gonna
Yeah,
stop
my
and turn
question
it
goes
over.
to them.
Turn it over
Yeah,
to
I mean, there's no
Director
science
Lindsay.
really about anything, I'm not just blaming Ramsey County.
No, there, yeah, I'm sorry, Commissioner, there are Metro Square signs, but they're arguably too few and far between, but they are there. Director Lindsay?
Thank you. Chair, Commissioners, looks like we pivoted right to me naturally there. So we've heard a lot about just all the intentionality that has gone into so many things today, and that is the same with the naming of this building. And so like my colleagues have mentioned, communications and public relations reached out to other, to do some market research with our peers to see what buildings, both the buildings itself and the service center inside of the buildings is called, because we recognize that our county residents might be coming here for services, but then they might be helping their families in a different county. And so we really wanted to understand the ecosystem, and so that we could be working within that ecosystem as we look at this newly remodeled space. We also worked with subject matter experts, so many of the folks at the table here with me today and in the room who are directly interacting with residents and understanding how do they navigate, as was just brought up, to this space and what do they call it. And so we wanted to take all of that in. And then Ramsey County has a history with buildings. We know that we have a building, an government center east, that is closing down. And so we wanted to respect all of that and bring it into the naming framework. And then we as a county do have facility signage guidelines. So we brought all of this into our market research. The next slide will show you just some examples. This is not all of them out there, but other jurisdictions and what they call their main building and what they call their service center inside of that. So just to give you a snapshot where we saw a lot of similarities with a lot of government centers, a lot of administrative centers, and then inside the service centers. And so we, again, really wanted to be similar with what's going on in the marketplace, recognizing that our residents move about the whole, the metro area or maybe Minnesota. So our recommendation after all of this research that I presented is to rename this building Ramsey County Government Center. And so that builds on the past. It makes a central location. If English is not your first language, this is very common, but it might be called in other communities too, a government center. And so we really wanted to take in all of these different things when we made this recommendation. And then for service centers themselves, we want to keep the service center name. We have built this branding. And so Ramsey County Service Center St. Paul, Ramsey County Service Center Maplewood, Ramsey County Service Center Roseville. And as was brought up during this workshop, really focus on wayfinding, so how to get to each service center, whether you're going to the Maplewood Mall, going to the Roseville Library, coming here, and then service clarity. Not everybody knows that you're going to find your SNAP support in a service center. So we really want to work to ensure clarity of you're not just going to find SNAP or financial assistance, but you're going to the service center to get those kind of supports. And so we want to build on that. High-level timeline for this work is to finalize that name recommendation that we're presenting to you, and start working with property management to finalize updating signage and the branding assets. And then in the spring of 2026, have a giant grand opening and share that name widely and do a public launch, a tour of this building, not just the service center, but really all the amazing things that have gone into this entire building to really make it a one location for the community. And then of course, we'll be updating our websites, open data portal, all the other places. We have already begun an inventory of skyway signage and other signage that would also need to be updated. Some of it we own as a county, and some of it we don't own. So we'll have to be working with our partners in St. Paul, but we are doing an audit of all of that right now.
Commissioner Jevonsing and then Commissioner McMurtry.
I love this, and so all like good thing. With it being government center, the other thing that I really appreciate is the flexibility. Like once you've named it, then however we institute ourselves or house ourselves or whatever. I guess the question I have is there other services, whether, I mean, there could be other services that aren't these human services, right? That people access in the county, whether it's a business experience or something else or taxes or things like that. Do we have plans to have some kind of kiosk or information so that somebody did find their way here thinking this was all of Ramsey County's ways of accessing whatever they're in their minds to finding services? We have a way to at least not just say wrong building, but to handhold them or get them connected to that, to whatever that next thing might be.
Chair Commissioners, yeah, we're working through all of that. We do have a digital kiosk, right, in the opening kind of help for wayfinding, but we're still finishing our assessment of how to wayfind within the building and between buildings, and some of that also involves people, right, helping get you to the next location if you accidentally arrive at the wrong location.
I think that's just something for us to be thinking about, and even just the idea of now that so many of our services are staffed remotely or between different buildings, like even if there is like a kiosk that allows somebody just to be like, well, you're in the wrong building, we're not gonna make you drive and park and do another thing, but you can access like, you know, however that might be online or something like that, so at least you get to that next step, so that you don't just give up, right? Once you've gone in here.
Commissioners, the other thing that we all have to be really aware of is with AI, it really is helpful, but it also, a lot of people who are using AI to find locations, it might serve you up the incorrect information. And so we are finding people sometimes going to our locations with maybe going to the environmental center and the wrong hours or whatnot, because AI just doesn't necessarily, so there's a lot to be done about education that we can do all around.
I appreciate that, taking a more global perspective to all of the buildings. Thank you.
Commissioner McMurtry, and then Commissioner McGuire.
Quick question, as you were doing your research on landing on this particular renaming, was there any consideration of kind of the current political climate? I'm just thinking of, you know, for some people in our community, maybe seeing the word government will strike fear. And so I'm fine with this. I'm just wondering if that was brought up during the conversations of whether it could possibly deter people from wanting to come to this space just by seeing the term government in the rename.
Sure, Commissioner, thank you for that question. I think that's why the county has multiple locations, right? We have the libraries, we have the mall, we also have community partners where we bring the services out to community organizations. So we're trying to do all the things to meet people where they are, because sometimes folks want to go to the government because that's what brings them ease, that this is accurate, I actually know it's the right information, and then the opposite where that might be very uncomfortable. And so we're trying to do multiple different ways to meet people where they are.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so I've noticed we're still renting out some space here. Is the intent that at some point will be all Ramsey County here, or bring all of our services here? I'm thinking of services, I don't even know if there are any more at the county board offices. Like people will, if they want to go to a county board meeting or to a workshop, they come to us. But otherwise, there's no other, are there any other services that are being done at the courthouse? Because that would just, maybe we want to bring all service entities to this place. I'm just wondering how we're thinking about that.
Yeah, I can take that question. We definitely are looking at other alignments of other services. I think we just want to be cautious that we have a lot of buildings.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of places, and I'm still trying to work out like there's more accessibility and parking here actually before we create more here, but also recognizing there's this kind of buffers us from some of the challenges in the retail market, in the building market, as you heard from BOMA. Having people pay rent to our building is actually a nice diversification of our funding streams, and especially the Public Utilities Commission, they take a substantial footprint here. So I do think that this isn't necessarily the moment, while we still own a lot of property, to completely, you know, just, we have to dispose, we're working on a disposition plan on some of our other properties and buildings before we sort of exit out of more, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? It's gonna take a few years, so, but good points, yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Well, no, go ahead.
let's see, who will be leaving the service center for?
Yeah, we'll break off into about 2 groups, so we can come upstairs on the second floor.
I'm just glad we don't have library reservations and the closed section.